Hello everyone, my name is Skyler Crabtree and today we're going to talk about research-based effective teaching strategies, and specifically we're going to be talking about one called self-reporting grades. So first we're going to talk a little bit about research-based effective teaching strategies. What exactly are they? So in 2009, John Hattie published his book of research titled Visible Learning, a synthesis of over 800 meta-analyses relating to achievement. What Hattie did is he initially measured 138 effects across 6 different areas: the student, home, school, curriculum, teacher, and teaching and learning approaches. So Hattie had different strategies or influences that he would subject students in an experimental group to. He would measure how well those students performed or didn't perform when they had been subjected to that strategy or influence compared to a control group who had not been subjected to that influence. He measured his results using standard deviations, and he found that across the 138 initial effects that he studied from students, the average effect size was 0.40 standard deviations, meaning most of those influences had a somewhat positive effect on student achievement. The strategy that we're talking about today is the top ranked research-based effective teaching strategy that Hattie studied. It had the highest standard deviation score, which was 1.33. Self-reported grades with that high standard deviation score meant that students who were subjected to that influence were able to achieve way more than the students in the control group who were not subjected to that same influence. So what are self-reported grades as Hattie reported them as a learning strategy or influence? So students are predicting how they will perform on an assignment, a test, before a unit that we're about to start, whatever the task may be. Students sit down and try to predict how they will perform on said task. Do they know a lot about it beforehand? Is there a lot of background knowledge? Or do they think they are not capable of doing the work that is coming up towards them? Hattie later stated that he wanted to rename this learning strategy to student expectations rather than self-reported grades. Basically, you're trying to get your students to set their own expectations in an effort to motivate them and try to get them to do more because they're trying to meet their own goals that they've set for themselves. So teachers are able to learn those students' expectations for themselves. If students are self-reporting goals, they're trying to tell you what they want to get out of a unit or what they expect out of themselves on one specific assignment or test, then the teacher knows, well, that student's really trying his best. He really wants to give it all he's got. Or maybe if he's kind of feeling down and he doesn't think he's going to do as well. It allows the teacher to see that and give them that extra push that they may need. When students are trying to achieve their own goals and meet their own expectations, the teacher is able to help them to push them beyond those expectations and show the students that they may be capable of doing a little more than they initially thought was possible. So Hattie explained in this book that students are very accurate at assessing themselves, and they're their very own best critics. So students are always going to know what they're capable of or what they think they can do. And they oftentimes tell us this in the classrooms. They'll either say, oh, I can't do that, or they'll tell us how easy they expect the upcoming unit or the upcoming test to be. So with this strategy, we're putting those statements and those comments, we're trying to put them in numbers and goals and having the students put forth those expectations so that we see them and they see them and they're very concrete. The students know what they are capable of within themselves, and so it's our job to get that out of them and push them to meet those goals that they know they want to meet themselves. So one of the top strategies with self-reported grades is giving those students the opportunity to set realistic goals of themselves based on what they believe they're capable of. Confidence is built when they achieve those goals, and it motivates them because they have that expectation for themselves. When they achieve those goals, we then don't stop. We raise the bar for them so that they're trying to get past those expectations and they exceed what they even thought was possible for them doing. Whenever those students achieve their goals and see them exceeding their goals, it motivates them to put in even extra work, and then the sky is the limit. That accelerates their learning. It could even make them excited about learning because they now know that I'm capable of meeting these goals that I've set for myself, and I can even do more. So the top ranked learning strategy in Hattie's study was the self-reported grades influence with a 1.33 standard deviations effect score. This is an extremely effective correlation and it's a highly desirable result. This strategy improves rates of learning by well over 50%, and the standard deviation score is equivalent of up to 3 grade levels of growth in 1 year's time of learning. With those kind of results from this influence, it's something that we should all be considering implementing into our classrooms because students are learning a lot by learning to set forth their own expectations and it promotes that growth within them. So why is this strategy so effective? It gives students a sense of ownership over their own learning. They are deciding what they believe they are capable of, what their expectations are for each assignment or each unit or each test. They're not just listening to what the teacher says, this is what I want out of you. They're saying, this is what I want out of myself. And with that, they are more driven because they're trying to beat themselves and the expectations they have laid forth on themselves. In a lot of ways, the students are taking their learning into their own hands rather than just being fed by the teacher and the teacher saying, this is what I want out of you, this is what I expect out of you. It's instead the student saying, this is what I expect out of myself, and then the teacher can take those expectations and help push the student towards them and beyond them. The self-reported grade strategy also encourages self-reflection and criticism. Students are able to reflect back on their work and their capabilities and compare their own expectations with what the teacher may expect of them. This is where something like a rubric comes in handy because the teacher is giving the student their expectations and then the student can also lay forth their own expectations and compare them with how they turn out with the teacher's. When students look back on their work and they're able to reflect on it, it pushes their learning forward because they're learning what went wrong, what could I have done better, and how could I have pushed myself farther toward the goal that I set for myself. This influence also encourages goal setting and working towards those goals. Goal setting is very important because rather than entering a unit or a test with the mindset that, oh, this is just another thing that I have to do here in school, you're going into the mindset with the mindset of saying, I want to learn this because it may help my career down the road, or I want to learn this because I really care about this subject and I want to learn how to do it or learn more about it or learn more in detail about it. When students set goals for themselves, they are deciding what do I want to get out of this lesson or this assignment. If I take this test, I want to get this good grade, but why do I want the good grade? Is it because I want to get into a better college down the road? Is it because I want to please my parents or my teachers? Or do I just want to do the very best that I can? When students are setting their own goals and then they meet them, it promotes that learning and accelerates that growth that they desperately need. Once the students establish their own benchmarks or goals, they can work towards those and then the teachers can push them to try to exceed past those expectations. So say a student has a goal of making a 75% on a test. The teacher can then say, you can do that. Let's then try to get that 80% or 90%. Let's bump that all the way up to an A. What are some steps we can take to do that? And help them with some study tips or give them some extra materials that would help push them towards that goal and beyond it. So now I'm going to demonstrate what this might look like in your classroom. So I want you to take some time to reflect on your knowledge of animals. We're going to take a short quiz. Let's pretend like this is a pre-test going into a unit all about the animal kingdom. And we're going to be studying the different classes of animals and the characteristics that make up the animals. You should have a score in mind. How many of these 5 questions do you think you can get correct? Do you think you know a lot about animals? Do you not know much? What is your goal for how many of these questions you want to get right? Now that you set your goal for yourself, you have something that you can work towards and try to get your mark at. So now we will begin the quiz. Number 1, which of the following animals belongs to the infraclass known as marsupials? Is it the red kangaroo, the silverback gorilla, the African lion, or the leopard tortoise? Number 2, which of the following is a characteristic of reptiles? Are they A, fur-bearing, B, cold-blooded, C, do they have feathers, or D, are they warm-blooded? 3, true or false? The orca whale is a species of fish. Number 4, which of the following animals would be considered an herbivore? Is it A, the cheetah, B, bald eagle, C, a horse, or D, the great white shark? And finally, true or false, birds give live birth. Here are the answers to the quiz. So now you reflect on the quiz. Did you meet your expectations? Did you meet the goal you set for yourself based on how many questions you wanted to get right for this quiz? When students have these goals and they don't meet them, that may motivate them to want to do better. So maybe you didn't do as well as you wanted to. Now you want to go out and study even harder to learn more about animals because maybe they are something you care about, or you just want to meet that goal that you initially set for yourself. If you did better than expected, maybe now you're really excited to go into the animal unit because you think you can do really well and you want to push yourself to see just how well you can learn and do with these animals. So based on that reflection, you might set goals for yourself for the upcoming unit and the upcoming assignments that you know are coming at you in the near future. One of the best ways we can implement this strategy of self-reporting grades or student expectations into our classrooms is by using these SMART goals or having students set their own goals and expectations for themselves. We've talked about that a lot in this presentation. So these SMART goals, the student is identifying something specific they want to accomplish. It's very clear and detailed, but not too general. It's very specific. It's measurable. What steps can I take to do this? How will I know when I meet my goal? Do I get a certain grade on the assignment? Am I able to get so many questions right? Or am I able to say so much about a specific topic? You need to have an action plan. The student will be listing the steps out. How can I reach this goal? What study efforts do I need to make? How do I need to go about studying for this test or learning this unit? Do I take it day by day, class by class, week by week? These are the steps I need to take to meet my goal. We need to make sure the students' goals are realistic, not too easy and not too hard, but something very obtainable. And a time frame needs to be established where we are setting a deadline. I want to learn all the organelles of the animal cell by the end of the month, and I want to be able to list all of their functions or something of that nature if that's your goal. Having students set their own goals and expectations is a great way to get them motivated to learn and try to do better in the classroom. Rubrics are another way we can implement this strategy into our classrooms. Students given the same rubrics that teachers are using to assess their work could find it motivating because they are learning that they can go back and reflect on their own work and see this way the teacher will be grading them as well. This establishes concrete expectations for the upcoming work, and the students are then able to see what steps they need to take to make sure they're not only keeping the teacher happy, but meeting the own goals that they've set for themselves as well. A rubric or self-grading and trying to compare their work with the rubric forces the students to think critically about their own work. Did I really put forth my best effort? Did I really try hard on this assignment and work to meet the expectations that were set for me? A rubric could make students think twice before turning in sloppy work or trying to put forth minimal effort and turn something in. When they know what they're going to be graded on and then they're looking at it themselves and trying to grade their own work, it may motivate them to try even harder. So rubrics are an excellent tool for our classrooms as far as setting forth student expectations. One other method we can use is a grade tracker. So students are predicting a grade that they may get on an assignment or a test. Then they're setting forth a goal. I think I'm going to get a 75, but my goal is an 80 on this test. And then they go and they take the steps they need to study for the test and try to get that 80 and meet that goal. And then when their actual grade maybe comes in as an 85 or 90, they're really motivated because they've shown themselves they can work hard and achieve that goal and even surpass it. So then as the next unit comes along, they're motivated to learn and try to do even better on the next one. This effect snowballs and promotes the students' learning and gets them motivated to want to do more and more. So that is a little bit about John Hattie's self-reported grades, influence, and how we may implement those strategies into our classrooms.